Hey, welcome into the Stinkin Truth Podcast. Mark Schlereth here in Vegas, Radio Row. My partner, Mike Evans. And I'm telling you, Mike, get on a plane. Come to Vegas today. I've got a California King. We'll put a pillow between us. We'll keep our underpants on. But it will be a great time.
Underpants only, huh?
Underpants, no shirts. Pillow between us.
Those aren't pillows.
Hey, listen, man. It's a bonding. That's why we're tight. Anyhow.
Well, I am so jealous. I have to admit, I didn't think I'd feel it, but starting today, I got serious Super Bowl Vegas Radio Row FOMO going on right now.
Yeah, I have never seen a bigger collection of pasty white, fat, non-athletic radio people in my entire life. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing, but it's good to be here. I've gotten to see a couple of my old teammates, a couple of guys that I played against, so that's always kind of fun. I've had a couple conversations, just bumped into Dan Marino and some celebrities rolling through now, comedians and such. So it's always cool to be here. I mean, you've spent plenty of time in Radio Row. I've got people taking pictures of my self-made tripod right now. So it's I am the MacGyver. I'm the MacGyver of Radio Row, and it's impressive. There's no question.
How about Vegas? I know you've only been there a short amount of time, but how about Vegas as a Super Bowl venue? It just seems to me like it's a no-brainer, and that if you're talking about the idea of what cities should be part of that Super Bowl rotation, to me it's Vegas, it's New Orleans, it's Miami, maybe Phoenix, but just put them in those 4 or 5 cities and just keep rotating.
Back in the day, it was San Diego before the stadium went, tits up. But yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. One, I think it should be warm weather. I think it always should be in a warm weather. Although Vegas is cold, I mean, I got here last night. It's like overnight, it's in the 30s. People don't realize the desert. It gets cold. It's only in the 50s during the day, and it gets cold at night. But anyhow, it's it would be what it would. I haven't I walked over to Radio Row this morning at 4:00 in the morning, so I haven't really seen Vegas at all. But I'll see it this afternoon, and I'll let you know. I'll report back. Maybe we'll do another podcast on Friday. We'll do a real deep dive into this game matchups. I downloaded a bunch of stuff. I'm actually going to go back and watch the matchup earlier in the season between Kansas City and San Francisco. They did play, didn't they? They did. I do believe they played, right? Kansas City played San Francisco at some point.
I'm drawing a blank on that one. Are you sure about that?
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe it was last year. Let me see here. I got the schedule right here. Broncos, Eagles. They did not play this year.
No, they
apparently.
did not. No.
Okay. But last year, maybe I'll go back and look at last year's game. And did they play last year? Who knows? But I've got it. I've got it on my Exos Thundercloud.
So some of the early storylines of the week thus far. So you have San Francisco shows up. Now, the Chiefs get a chance to work out of the sparkling, brand new, state-of-the-art facility that the Raiders have. Meanwhile, the 49ers are at UNLV, and there's been some complaining about the practice field. What are you hearing about that?
Yeah, well, I've heard, and I've been to UNLV. As a matter of fact, my son went to school here his first year before he transferred to Arizona. And so, during the spring, I would always come out for baseball and stuff, and he was rehabbing an elbow, and ended up getting involved with some of the coaching staff and helping out with the UNLV, what are they, the Rebels? And so anyhow, that's one of those turf fields. And apparently, it's one of those turfs with the little tire, whatever they are, the little crumbles of tire or ground up tire. So it's a field turf, as they call that. And apparently they came over and just laid sod over the top of it. And so that's their practice field, so they could be on grass. And, they're saying it's a little bit loose and it's a little bit spongy. And so anyhow, those are real things. And then, of course, you're at some college facility as opposed to, a state-of-the-art professional facility. Right. And it's funny because I never really thought about it. But I think it is an advantage for the for the team that gets to use that facility. So in the 3 Super Bowls I played in, I was always in a city that represented the conference that I played in. So in Super Bowl 26, I was in Minnesota, which obviously we were the Redskins at that time. So we were in Minnesota state-of-the-art facility. Super Bowl 32, playing for the Broncos, it was in San Diego, so we're in the Chargers state-of-the-art facility. And Super Bowl 33, we're in Miami, and it was the Dolphins state-of-the-art facility. So I've never had to do the opposite. And now that I think about it, and I never thought about it at the time, why would I? But there's no question that it's an advantage for the city that represents that conference.
So we look at the Chiefs. I'm thinking a couple of the storylines that has popped up in the interviews and the press conferences. One was Andy Reid asked about his future, and he, of course, sort of bypassed that and said, I don't really want to deal with that right now. Do you think that there's any possibility that if they win, especially, that he might decide to retire?
I have heard that from multiple people, pure speculation, no inside information. But one of those guys was my buddy Trey Wingo, who said, hey, listen, man, if he wins this Super Bowl, I think he'll retire. And then his prediction was Bill Belichick comes into Kansas City and takes over. And, when you think about it, you're like, I could see that. I could see that happening.
Really? Because I would think if you're Andy Reid, you're in your mid-60s.
Yeah.
You've got Patrick Mahomes, who is technically not even in his prime yet, which is scary. This is a guy who could play at a high level. You have a chance, if you're Andy Reid, to rewrite the record book as a coach. Why would you walk away from that? You're one of the lucky ones. You've got a quarterback.
You're already in the Hall of Fame. Well, what more do you want to do? And do you want to enjoy your life? You've been grinding at this for a very long time. You've had some family issues. You've had some family tragedies. Not that you can go back and rewrite history, but you can always change it and live in the that's all we're guaranteed is the present. And if you want to spend the rest of your life just enjoying it, maybe doing some TV stuff, maybe just traveling with your wife, I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that coaching is a grind, and I do know that it wears you out, and I do know it takes a special kind of guy and a special kind of woman that's going to marry that guy to be able to handle coaching in general. So that dude has had an incredible career, back from when he first got in this thing, being with Green Bay. I don't know how far it goes back, but all his time in Philadelphia and all the winning they did in Philadelphia, and now obviously in Kansas City. And I look at it like you put a Hall of Fame resume together. You've been absolutely incredible, and I could see that happening. Win your third Super Bowl in 4 years, and just say later.
He did acknowledge that he has 12 grandchildren, and that all his wife does right now is travels around and visits the grandkids. And he said, hey, my life is pretty simple right now. It's football, it's family, it's my faith. And you're right. Maybe he just decides, I want to make it all about my family.
Yeah. You know what? Interestingly enough, and it can't be all about your family when you're coaching. It can't be all about your kids. And he's had, as you know, family tragedies with his own kids. And therefore, maybe he wants to relive that, man. I just know as a grandfather, and how important it is to me, being able to be involved, being able to be there. And, I always said this about my own, being a parent. None of us do it right. There's always mistakes made along the way. But one thing my kids could never accuse me of is not being involved. My wife and I never outsourced the raising of our kids to somebody else. And when you're a coach, you miss a lot of those things. You miss a lot of the performances. You miss a lot of the recitals. You miss a lot of And maybe he's looking at it like, I'm not gonna do that with my grandkids. I'm gonna be there with my grandkids for as long as I possibly, as long as God blesses me to be on this earth. I'm gonna be there for my grandkids. I could totally see that, and I totally respect it.
Meanwhile, Kyle Shanahan trying to get that first Super Bowl, and it was really fun listening to him yesterday. We're here in Denver. You, of course, played for Mike Shanahan. You won back-to-back Super Bowls. And listening to him talk about the impact that Mike had on him, but also Rod Smith and Ed McCaffrey, father of Christian McCaffrey, two guys you played with, the impact that they had on his football career. It was amazing to listen to. And as I'm listening to all of it, I'm thinking to myself, Mark, while you were out there sweating and working and winning more games over a 3-year span than any team in NFL history, you guys had Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel running around there as teenagers.
Yeah, and isn't it amazing? I mean, Mike McDaniel being our ball boy, and Kyle. I mean, I remember Kyle as a player, and he's always hanging around. I think he got there, he's probably 14 years old or so when Mike, became the head coach of the Broncos in 1995, and that was my first year with the Broncos as well. But I remember Kyle, as he got into high school and going into college, him like out there training with Rod Smith and Eddie McCaffrey, running routes and catching balls off the jugs machine, and and being part of like the off-season conditioning program that we were all going through. And there's Kyle trying to be a college football player. I think he initially went to Duke, and then he transferred to Texas, and he's a wide receiver, and and ultimately could have gone on, and maybe caught on and been the fifth receiver on some NFL team playing special teams. But he decided, like, I'm not gonna survive very long doing that. I'm going to get into the coaching aspect. And I think he started in Tampa Bay as a wide receivers coach. And and Mike made him go cut his teeth. Mike made him go earn his way. It wasn't like a nepotism thing. He had great success and became an offense coordinator in Cleveland before they got back together when Mike was fired from Denver and ended up going to Washington to be the head coach of the Washington Redskins. And Mike hired him to be the offensive coordinator. And we all see Bobby Sloak was on the defensive staff. Raheem Morris was on the defensive staff. Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. Sean McVay was the tight ends coach. Matt LaFleur was the quarterback coach. I mean, like that tree. Mike McDaniels was, OC or quality control guy or whatever. I mean, we've all seen ad nauseum, whether it's Fox or CBS or where, they all put it on and show you that tree. But it's incredible to think of the staff that Mike had, and not only the staff that was there, but the incompetency of Daniel Snyder's ownership. That you had all those dudes in the building at the same time, and you didn't recognize any of them as being good coaches. Like, you want to talk about an idiot. What an idiot that guy is.
Mike Shanahan, I don't understand why he's not in the Hall of Fame right now. You talk about somebody who won in the league, 2 Super Bowls as a head coach that you played on, was with the 49ers and had success there as well with Joe Montana, Steve Young. And now you talk about a coaching tree that is remarkable, especially when you consider Bill Belichick's tree never took root, and you see the success that Shanahan's having. To me, he should be in the Hall of Fame. Is there something, because we're seeing that Shanahan impact all around the NFL. If you could boil it down to one theme that seems to be present with all these guys that comes from Mike, what would it be?
Detail.
Okay.
I mean, you talk to any of those guys, and I've talked to them all. They all marvel at Mike Shanahan's ability to lock in and study and be completely focused on football. And he legendary, and I've told this story before, but Mike's a mentor, and I'll go over to his house and we'll study football, and he always takes me through kind of how a play started, what they were first thinking, how it's developed over the years, how it's transitioned to something else. But Mike will sit there, and Kyle has told me McVay has talked to me about it. LaFleur's talked to me about it, about his ability to sit for hours and watch and study the same thing. I've been to Mike's house watching a route combination, cut up tape of a combination in the West Coast offense called branch. Okay. So a two-man side, inside receiver, whether it's a tight end, whether it's the slot, doesn't matter, whatever it is, and an outside receiver, right? The outside receiver runs a go, and the inside receiver runs it's a go and an 8-yard out-cutting route, right? So a stick is 4 to 6 yards. A branch is 8 yards deep. And that's the concept, right? So if you've seen it 4 times, 5 times, you pretty much get the concept and the defender you're trying to put in conflict and what you're trying to do. I sat with Mike Shanahan in his office and watched a cut-up reel of that route combination branch for 3 hours. 3 hours. And Mike was completely enthralled. And I'm like, yeah, I get it, Mike. It's a branch. You know, hey, they're running branch again. Yeah, it's a branch cut-up reel, Mike. Like, that's what we're watching for 3 freaking hours. I was talking to Jimmy Garoppolo about that. He's coming back from an ACL injury, and so he's going to sit down with Shanahan and watch film. And he said they sat for 5 hours. What I experienced. And he goes, I have never, he goes, I'm sitting there going, what, like, this dude is insane, right? And finally he goes, we're 3 hours in, and he's been drinking coffee and like the whole time. And he goes, we're 3 hours in. I finally say, hey, coach, can I take a break? I gotta take a piss. And he's like, oh yeah. So he goes, takes a piss, comes back, and they do another 2 hours. Mike is like a camel. He never took a piss. Like, he sits and drinks coffee and watches film. Kyle told me Mike doesn't watch TV. He doesn't watch sitcoms. He doesn't binge shows. He watches film. That's all he watches. And he studies it. And his ability to be locked in and not deviate from what he's doing for long periods of time is insane to me.
It's in all the details, right? It is in the details. And that seems to be what sets that Shanahan tree apart. Well, it's early in the week still. We got a lot of time left until the game, so I'm sure there'll be more storylines that will develop over the next couple of days, and we'll see how you're surviving Vegas.
Yeah, I will. Trust me, I will survive just fine. And and we'll do. Let's like on Friday. Let's do a real in-depth breakdown. We'll go through kind of everything that you need to know about this game, and we'll kind of hit it hard and wrap it up. Sound good?
All right. Sounds good.
All right, buddy. Hey, for everybody involved in the Stinkin Truth podcast, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe, and we're back with you later in the week as we break it all down between the Niners and the Chiefs.
Hey, for everybody involved in the Stinkin Truth, we thank you so much. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel for more content just like this. If you want to see more of our videos, you can also be sure to check out our playlist. Let us know exactly what you think in the comments below. We appreciate you guys so much for being a part of that.
Don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date on our latest updates. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.